Standard relationship advice often suggests that more talk is the only cure. But for couples wired like Nadia and Sam, increasing the volume of words functions more like an accelerant than a remedy. It starts with something minor, a forgettable disagreement over weekend plans. No one raises their voice, no one is cruel. Yet a sudden behavioral shift occurs that neither of them quite understands. Sam retreats to the second bedroom and clicks the door shut. That sound triggers a physical tightening in Nadia's chest. She stands in the kitchen at 9:17, wiping a clean counter for the third time, trapped by a fear she can't name. Nadia's desperate desire to talk triggers Sam's need to pull away. This recurring friction indicates a structural trap, where the act of reaching for connection ensures its withdrawal. Two completely opposite emergencies are happening at the same second. To Nadia, that closed door signals a loss of the relationship. To Sam, whose nervous system has hit its capacity, the door provides the only space he has to finally breathe. When Nadia eventually knocks, her request for connection feels like an impossible demand to flooded Sam. He pulls back harder. This retreat hits Nadia like a slap, causing her to reach out even more frantically. Researchers call this the demand-withdraw pattern, or the protest polka. The cycle itself is the villain in the room. The pursuer's advance directly triggers the distancer's retreat, which in turn feeds the pursuer's panic, creating a self-sustaining loop. Psychologist John Gottman found that when this specific dance sets in early, couples face an 80% chance of divorce within the first 5 years. The more they try to talk their way out of it, the deeper the groove becomes. This explains why the pursuer, the one fighting hardest for connection, often ends up accelerating its end. In this structural trap, pursuing connection through words rarely achieves it. When a conversation turns into a threat, the body enters a state called flooding. This happens once the heart rate climbs past 100 beats a minute. At this threshold, the thinking part of the brain, the part capable of nuance and curiosity, goes partly offline. The body reroutes everything to survival. In this state, a partner's sentence is no longer information. It is a sound the nervous system reads as danger. Biology has temporarily reclassified a loved one as a predator. For Nadia, this biology is often rooted in childhood, where love only stayed if she chased it hard enough. Now her emotional radar is tuned so high that she catches every micro shift in Sam's expression, mistaking a lack of intensity for a lack of love. This hypersensitive radar frequently mistakes a flock of seagulls for an incoming missile. The amygdala prioritizes safety over accuracy, firing intense alarms at minor cues, like a delayed text or a quiet room. Acting on this biological panic by knocking on the door or sending a wall of text fulfills the very prophecy the pursuer fears. The reach for safety is exactly what triggers the partner's rejection. Because you cannot talk someone out of a biological state meant for protection, words used during a flood are the one tool guaranteed to fail. You can only help the body come down. The distancer's retreat is also a mechanical survival strategy. Avoidant nervous systems use deactivating strategies to cool down a connection that feels like it's heating up too fast. As intimacy deepens, the avoidant partner may suddenly focus on minor flaws, like the way a partner chews. This acts as a biological thermostat, creating just enough distance to make the closeness bearable again. Sam learned to retreat as a child because closeness often came with a cost he couldn't afford. Today, he isn't falling out of love in his study. His body is simply deploying a familiar skill to turn down a dial it doesn't know how to leave on I. Arguments over weekend plans or a dishwasher often serve as proxies for ancient attachment questions. Beneath the surface, Nadia is asking if Sam will be there when she needs him, while Sam is asking if he will disappear if he lets her all the way in. The advice to communicate more fails because it aims language at the surface argument, while the real wound sits 3 floors down, untouched by words. If talking is the accelerant, the medicine involves deliberately less. This pivot requires addressing the nervous system before addressing the problem. The most powerful move for the pursuer is to wedge a pause between the impulse and the action. Nadia's work is learning to stand in the kitchen, feel the flood rise, and let it crest for 20 minutes without demanding that Sam fix her panic right now. The distancer has a matching move called the timed return. Instead of vanishing with no end in sight, which turns a partner's fear into terror, they provide a specific time frame for their absence. Saying 7 words, "I need an hour, I'll find you," changes the entire meaning of the closed door. It transforms a symbol of abandonment into a promise of return. These pauses and promises are what finally starve the conflict cycle of the friction it needs to survive, allowing both bodies to settle. True connection lives in small, low-stakes rituals that bypass language. A hand on a back in the hallway or a 6-second hug speaks to the body directly, reaching the nervous system before it has time to brace. The pursuer must also learn to provide their own reassurance. For the anxiously attached, outsourcing all soothing to a partner works like drinking salt water. The relief is real, but the thirst returns worse because the body never learns to self-soothe. Beneath the pursuer's panic is a beautiful, persistent testament to a love that won't quit. Once regulated, that instinct becomes the force that ensures 2 people always find their way back to each other. Similarly, the distancer's need for space is the healthy boundary that keeps 2 people from dissolving into a single anxious blur. Both traits, once regulated, become the very things that hold the relationship together. The collision of 2 old survival skills, learned in childhood to navigate unpredictable love, often mimics a communication failure. Since these patterns were originally learned as a form of protection, they can finally be updated through a new architecture of safety.